Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 66 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own, and how do I support others? This week, we'll be discussing the topic of the dangers of an abusive relationship with our very special guest of the week, Maddie. You can go follow Maddie over on Instagram. Her Instagram is at maddie.makes96. That is spelled maddie.makes96. So please go check her out after the episode and support her for being on the podcast. And remember, if you'd like to share on the show, please message us in our Discord in the podcast participants channel along with your unique experiences, and we will match you to the right episode. And just a quick disclaimer before we start, I am not a licensed health professional. This podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have resources in our descriptions. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. The Domestic Abuse Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. The hotline can be accessed via the nationwide number 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 7233, or the text number 1-800-787-3224. Okay? The hotline provides service referrals to agencies in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Persons can also contact the hotline through an email request on the hotline website, which will be in our description. Services are provided for free without regard to race, color, national origin, religion, gender, age, or disability, including deaf or hard of hearing. Assistance is available in English, Spanish, and with access to more than 170 languages through the telephonetic interpreter services. If you are in immediate danger, please don't hesitate to call 911. For more mental health resources, please see the National Helpline database. Domestic abuse, also known as domestic violence or family abuse, is a pattern of abuse that is used to hurt, terrorize, manipulate, or gain control over another person. Today, we will be discussing about how to recognize abuse, how to prevent it from further occurring, how to get out of an abusive situation, and how to treat yourself with love and respect after an abusive situation. I want you all to know that you are worthy of love and respect and never ever deserve abuse of any kind. If you need support, please reach out to us. There is increased danger, an escalation of violence. The period immediately after leaving an abusive partner can be the most dangerous. Once you have left an abusive relationship, the increased violence can be astronomical, okay? An abuser may feel a loss of control and escalate their violent behavior in order to attempt to regain power. You may also experience stalking or harassment. Many abusers try to maintain control through stalking, threats, or constant harassment. Emotional and psychological impact of leaving. You may experience trauma or PTSD. Leaving an abusive situation can bring up intense feelings of fear, guilt, and confusion. It can also trigger or exacerbate trauma responses such as anxiety, depression, or severe PTSD. You may experience some self-blame and doubt. Abusers often manipulate their victims into believing that they are responsible for the abuse, leading to self-doubt even after leaving. Isolating and a lack of support. Losing friends and family because abusers often isolate their victims from their support networks. After leaving, some survivors may find themselves without the necessary social support or may experience judgment from family or friends. You may also experience economic instability. Many survivors face financial difficulties, especially if they were financially dependent on the abuser. This can lead to struggles with housing, employment, and access to resources. Once you have left an abusive relationship, you may face many different challenges that can make your life pretty fucking hard for a while, including legal challenges, having to get a protective order, experiencing guilt and gaslighting, experiencing trauma bonding, the fear of the unknown, fear of retaliation, fear of what is supposed to happen when we are starting over. You may have children and have custody concerns. The impact on your children after experiencing emotional abuse or physical violence can be very complex. And the abuser may continue to try manipulating your children. But none of these should be deterrents from leaving an abusive relationship. Okay? You deserve to feel loved. You deserve to be taken care of. You deserve to feel considered. And you deserve to be put first in your relationship. Okay? I'm very sorry for those of us that have experienced an abusive relationship. You are not alone. There is help available. And I really want to encourage you that you are strong enough to leave, and you are strong enough to survive leaving, and you will thrive after leaving. I promise you that, because I did. I thrived. If you're watching us over on YouTube, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content from the Trauma Dump podcast. And please comment down below what episodes you'd like to see from us. And if you've experienced anything similar to what Maddie and I are talking about when we are discussing domestic abuse, okay? It sometimes will be really beneficial to just get it out, type it out, let other people know and relate to one another. That's what we need more as humans, is to relate to one another. Okay? So remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and share the show with your friends. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. That really helps the show reach people who need it. If you want to further support the podcast, we have an Instagram called the Trauma Dump Pod, or Trauma Dump Pod, I think. It'll be in the descriptions. So please check it out and support our podcast. All right, let's get into this episode. Hello, Maddie.
Hello.
Girl, are we ready to trauma dump?
We are ready to trauma dump.
So excited. I'm so excited for this. Am I allowed to disclose how I know you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know Maddie because Maddie is one of my students. Oh my gosh. She's one of my amazing students. I teach voice classes. And so, Maddie, I'm about to learn about you on a deep level. I'm very
Yeet.
excited. I'm so excited for this. This has been a long time coming. And I'm very excited for this podcast. So today we're going to be talking about domestic abuse. So viewer discretion is very advised for this episode. If you guys are ever in danger or have someone threatening your life, please immediately call 911. The National Domestic Abuse Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. So those are some resources at the top of the show. We will also have many more resources in our description on both YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, just to make sure that you guys have some resources. So before we get into everything, we have to give those disclaimers. I am not a licensed health professional. Maddie is not, as far as I know, right?
No, I just have a degree in psychology and that's it. So that doesn't make me certified.
Yes, exactly. To make sure I'm not crossing any of your boundaries, Maddie, and respecting your experiences, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. We can also take a break at any time if you ever feel uncomfortable with a question. And if you don't feel like answering a question, just let me know. I'll skip it. We'll move on. My
Can
priority is
do.
to make sure that you're safe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, domestic abuse, we got to give a description of what domestic abuse is for the people that maybe have an idea, but not a concrete definition. Domestic abuse, also known as domestic violence or family abuse, is a pattern of behavior that is used to hurt, terrorize, manipulate, or gain control over another person, usually a family member or significant other. Domestic abuse may be perpetrated by any member of the household, such as an intimate partner, a parent, child, sibling, relative, or even a staff member within the house. When domestic abuse is perpetrated by an intimate partner, it is referred to as intimate partner violence. And when a child is a victim of domestic abuse, it is referred to as child abuse. So, today we're discussing how to recognize abuse, how to prevent it from occurring further, and how to get out of an abusive situation once you realize that you're in one, and then how to treat yourself with love and respect after the abusive situation. I really want all of my listeners to know that they are worthy of love and respect and never ever deserve abuse of any kind. If you need support, please reach out to us via our Discord or in the comments below on our YouTube channel. So my first question today, Maddie, would be for you to, let us know like a little synopsis of what you've gone through and why you wanted to talk about domestic abuse as your topic.
Well, that was actually I mean, I have had some trauma before, but it was like not as lasting as this one because this one lasted like 8 months. And that's a long time to be in a situation like that because it felt like an eternity because like, that like how people say like a bad time can feel like forever, and it sure did. And so um I just want to talk about it because it's good to get it out there and just, maybe people who don't think they're in one can look for the warning signs that I'm about to explain, and they can also, you know, hear what it's like, and maybe can even relate to others that have gone through what I've gone through, and just let you know that you're not alone. It's not uncommon to stay in a relationship like that for sometimes, a while because it's a lot harder to get out than people think.
Speaking as like it's harder to get out than people think. You think that's a stigma around mental like abuse or physical abuse is that, oh my gosh, you're being abused, you recognize you're being abused, just leave. Do you think that's a pretty big stigma that's around, any form
I
of
mean, I'm
abuse?
not sure because I'm not sure if I've heard enough, but I do know that like that's probably a question you shouldn't ask someone. Like, if they tell you like, oh, I was in like an abusive relationship for like this many months or years, and you ask them like, oh, why didn't you get out? Yeah, that's not, I don't think that's a very good question to ask.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good question to ask either. Um, when we recognize that, say, a friend or a family member is in an abusive situation, a lot of victim blaming happens where the responsibility of abuse is always on the abuser, no matter the circumstances. The abuser is the person, the perpetrator, the one responsible. So if you notice that your, friend, family member is in a abusive situation, um, how do you think you should tell that person that you recognize it? What do you think is a good way to do it without hurting them?
So you're asking if I like notice someone is in that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would probably just tell them like, look, like I've seen this before, and I'm just going to tell you now it's not going to get better. And I know it's hard to get out because you think that you're worthless and that you can't find anything better. But I promise you, like that person that you're with is doing that to you, is making you think that way. It's not you. And I promise you that once you free yourself from this, you will feel this incredible weight off your shoulders like anything you've ever felt before.
That's a very beautiful way to put it, that you're gonna feel a lot better after you're out. Um, Speaking on the type of abuse that you endured, um, I think we need to get into some definitions of abuse so that some people can recognize, hey, mistreatment of this kind is abuse. A lot of people don't recognize that neglect is abuse until it's put in the context of having a pet or an animal. Neglect, which involves failing to provide someone, like a dependent, with necessities such as food, water, clothing, shelter, medical care, or supervision, say if it's a child, um, that's abuse. Neglect can also be emotional, which involves failing to provide love, care, and emotional support to
Mm-hmm.
someone that you know is struggling. There's also financial abuse, which involves taking control over an individual's finances by controlling their income, restricting their ability to work, or accumulating debts in their name. There's also emotional and psychological abuse, which includes yelling, cursing, name calling, bullying, coercion, humiliation, gaslighting, harassing, infantilizing, threatening, frightening, isolating, manipulating, or otherwise controlling another person. Emotional and psychological abuse is just as harmful as sexual or physical abuse. And speaking on that, sexual abuse, which involves any form of touching or sexual content without the other person's explicit consent. Sexual abuse also includes any form of sexual contact between an adult and a person below the age of 18. There's also physical abuse, which involves someone harming another person's body, causing them to experience pain or suffer physical injuries. Physical abuse includes slapping, beating, hitting, kicking, punching, pinching, biting, choking, pushing, grabbing, shaking, or burning another person. There's so many other forms of abuse, including technological abuse, which involves using technology as a mean to threaten, stalk, harass, or abuse another person. Examples of this include using tracking devices to monitor someone else's movement or online activities and demanding to have access to a person's social media or email accounts. There's so many other forms of abuse, but those are the ones that really stuck out to me, especially the technological abuse, because I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people don't recognize can be pretty abusive, like needing to know where another person is at all times. Um, it it's very striking to me how with the rise of technology, there's been so many more ways for people to abuse it. Um, with your past relationship, what were some of the ways that you were harmed by this person?
You did list quite a majority of the ways actually. There was physical abuse, there was sexual abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse. Um, yeah, I think I've named all of them so far. I mean, maybe like, as we're talking, I might think about another one, but I think I like laid out like the common ones, like the ones that like occurred.
Yeah. I think it's really sad when you were touching on before, like feeling worthless, like abuse makes you feel worthless. When you first got into this relationship, did you have low self-esteem?
Um, I probably did, but didn't realize it because otherwise I wouldn't have like, endured that for so long.
Because it was 8 months, yeah. That's What did it do to your sense of autonomy when you were being controlled by this person?
What do you mean by that?
Like your ability to make decisions for yourself on your own and have control over your life. How was that impacted by the abuses that you suffered?
It felt very controlled. Like I felt like I pretty much was like being controlled by like a puppeteer, just almost everything I did, I was being questioned and ridiculed by him.
Mm. When did you first meet this person that you were in a relationship with?
Like what year? And
Yeah, how did you meet them?
met on an online dating website, and it was actually the year where shit hit the fan, aka 2020. So yeah, we met online, and he seemed like pretty cool at first. Like he was really funny. We got along, hit it off really well. And then the train just slowly came off the tracks and just completely like crashed from there. Like I would call that like relationship just like a slow train wreck, pretty much.
That's So it was a slow derailment, not it didn't happen all at once. Do you
Not
think
really. I mean, he did display bad behavior, I think like around the second or third month, and I guess it just kind of sustained that way. I mean, it did get like really bad at times. So,
Hmm. Some signs that someone is experiencing domestic abuse includes being upset or agitated, being withdrawn or unresponsive, exhibiting signs of fear or nervousness around certain people, displaying sudden changes in behavior or unusual behaviors that are not like their normal character, having injuries such as cuts, bruises, black eyes, or broken bones, having bruises, bleeding, torn clothes, or blood stains around genital areas, feeling dehydrated, malnourished, or unkempt, living in an unsafe or unsanitary condition, wearing long sleeve clothes or sunglasses to cover up bruising, especially in hot times, like wearing long sleeve clothes, having unusual eating or sleeping habits, being extremely meek and apologetic, losing interest in daily activities, and isolating from family and friends. Being in an abusive relationship deteriorates not only your mind and your psyche, but like your body as well. Did you notice any changes with your physicality as you were going through an abusive situation?
I mean, yes, I definitely did gain some weight during that time because I was just not very motivated to take care of myself.
Mm.
Mhm. And that was I did feel like a lot stressed out more too.
What was the turning point that helped you realize that you needed to leave?
I finally reached out to someone because I was hiding it for so long, and also too like he was constantly like down my neck. Like if I was texting someone, he'd be like, "Who are you texting?" And of course, if I like got annoyed with him about it, like he would like gaslight me and say, "Oh, so you're getting annoyed, so that means you're texting like someone you shouldn't be or whatever." But I reached out to like a coworker at first, and they were telling me, "Yeah, this seems like a situation you need to get out of." And so then I just am like, "All right, I think like the next fight we get into, which is probably going to happen really soon since he was very volatile, I'm just going to pull the trigger." And sure enough, it happened, and I like just screamed at the top of my lungs, "Get the fuck out of my life." And then I went over, I called one of my family members and explained everything that happened, and went over to their house, and they took my phone from me and like pretty much sent the text message for me saying like this relationship needs to end, like it's toxic, and I'm blocking you now, and I don't want, not being mean, but I just need you like gone. So that was that. I mean, it did linger for a little bit, but like I never saw him again after that.
Mm. Were you living with this person?
No, I was not. Thank God.
Yeah. I'm glad that you had that family member to, you know, keep you safe, number one. And also, it sounded like they helped keep you accountable to leaving the relationship.
Hmm.
What are some challenges that you face while leaving the relationship? Because you were talking about it lingered a little bit.
I mean, I just kind of still kept in contact with him because I did feel a little bad, and I also like did want to like, express my mind to him too. I told him like everything, what a piece of shit you are, and like you were the worst person in the world, like, and I just let him have it pretty much, and he like knew how he was like still kind of gaslighting me, telling me like, I can't believe you're handling it like this, but I'm just like, I don't like, I did feel a little bad, so I kind of like held on for a little bit, but then like one of my friends was like, why are you still giving that asshole the time of day? And I'm like, you're right, fuck this. And so I just blocked him.
So you were saying that you contacted a coworker about leaving. How did you prepare to leave both emotionally and practically?
I mean, I guess I don't think I really prepared. I just like did it, like, I'm just like, I gotta do it because I just can't live like this anymore.
Did you face any difficulties finding support or resources?
No, actually, I didn't, because there were a lot of people that were there for me when it happened, especially like people who could relate to me that have like been in my situation.
That's a
But
blessing.
I
That
did
really is.
keep it secret from certain people. So,
Mm. Why do you think you kept it secret?
because these people, like it was from my parents, and I just didn't want them to. I just didn't want to give me any guilt or shame, or like tell me like I told you so, or like why did you allow this to happen, kind of thing.
Mm. I'm sorry that you expected them to act that way. That's very hard.
I mean, yeah, but like, who knows? They maybe wouldn't have. Like, I never really like knew, but I don't know. I always like just didn't want to tell them because maybe one day I will, or who knows? Maybe they'll listen to this podcast and find out. But as of right now, they still don't know really what all happened.
Mm. The podcast purpose is to identify trauma and how we can help heal ourselves and others. And the saying of the podcast is trauma is not who you are, it's what you go through. Would you consider what you've gone through as trauma?
Yes.
What do you think of the saying, I transmute my pain into purpose?
I think that's saying that instead of using your pain to take over your life and pretty much not do any good for you, you use it as like an outlet and find a way to express it in a healthier way.
Mm. How has your daily routine changed because of your experiences?
Well, I definitely exercise a lot more because we all know like the benefit of exercise. I eat better. I I'm like a lot more careful about like relationships I'm in these days. Um, I'm just living like, the regular, like, adult life, I guess. Of course, I'm not like, feeling like I'm glued to my phone all the time because of this one person. I don't feel scared anymore. I don't feel like I'm on a leash. I feel like, a lot more free.
Mm. And you're in a relationship right now. How does that relationship compare to the abusive one?
Oh man, it's like night and day. Um, he's just, just doesn't question like, my every action, doesn't isn't controlling, not jealous at all, like, gives me freedom to do like, as I please, respects boundaries. and you know, can take no for an answer. So he's very kind and mature.
When you first started dating your current boyfriend, did you tell him about your previous abusive relationship?
I did, yeah.
How did he take it?
He was he did have some sympathy for me. Um, I don't remember too well his reaction about it because this was like, a few years ago. But you could tell that he knew that was a fucked up situation.
What are some warning signs that you want to express to our listeners if, they may or may not be in an abusive relationship that you knew from your previous relationship?
Well, first things first, jealousy is huge. Like if they're questioning like the people you talk to, especially like every single, opposite sex or maybe like, if you're LGBTQ, like same sex, like if they're just jealous over every person you talk to, especially like one that they pose as a threat, that's a big red flag right there. Um, Controlling behaviors such as, them like wanting to do like, what they want to do, and if you say no, they, break you down and make you feel horrible about yourself, or if they name call you, that's definitely a big one. And if they flip out over little things, like, I don't know, you made the wrong turn on a highway, which was something I did a few times and got berated for. So yeah, they flip out over little mistakes. They do isolate you sometimes, like they will maybe lock you out of your own home or their home until like you admit that you were wrong when really like you weren't wrong. They're just being a total asshole. And insecurity is also a huge one. Like, let's say this person wants to call you all the time, and if you don't get back to them like soon enough, they get really mad and think that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, or you're neglecting them, or you're not showing them enough love. And gaslighting, that's huge because they could you do something that is like, I don't know, that most people would consider to be like very minor, and they freak out on you, and then like you eventually just break and like freak out back on them, and they're just like, why'd you act like that? Like, I didn't do anything. And that's another like huge red flag to look out for.
Hmm. I think that's very true. When I was in college, my first year of college, um, I dated around a lot, vibes, and this guy that I dated really wanted to move very fast with me to be my boyfriend, which I really didn't want a boyfriend at the time. But he was like, "Oh, I really like you a lot. I want to be your boyfriend. Let's be boyfriend and girlfriend." And at the time, I thought it was really flattering, right? It's like, "Oh my God, he wants to be my girlfriend or boyfriend. We want to be together." Um, and I have a ring on my thumb that is a ring given to my dad that has two pieces that my fiance has the other piece now. But I told him one day about the significance of that ring, and I didn't give him the other piece. He just took the entire ring, which it would fit together, off of my thumb, and he put them on his pinky fingers, like both individual. And I was like, "Hey, that's my ring." And he just gave me back one half of it. And he's like, "Well, now it's official." And so I felt, you know, very weird about it. And I was like, "Well, I'm supposed to be the one to give you the ring." And he's like, "Well, you're my girlfriend now, so why can't I have half of your ring?" And that was like the first sign of like control within that relationship that the dynamic really, you know, went south eventually. And it broke me down in such a weird way because I'm usually a very confident, aware of my situation person. I'm always taking measures to make sure I was safe. And it felt like he broke down every single like safeguard that I had put up or that my parents had put up raising me, like over and over, of being like, oh, you're so paranoid. Oh, you're acting this way because you've never had a boyfriend before. Like, come on. Which, I hadn't had a long-term boyfriend, but I had girlfriends. And so it was very weird. And I'd slept with women before, but I had never slept with a guy. And he was just so fixated on taking my virginity, which I wasn't a virgin. It's like he was like so fixated on that. He was like it was weird, 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 really bizarre. And I remember being coerced into having sex with him, which he could tell I didn't like it. And he thought, which is kind of crazy, that his pee-pee was not big enough. Like genuinely, that's what he thought. Not that I liked girls more. No, no, nay, nay. Can't be that. It's that his pee-pee wasn't big enough. So one time while I was sleeping, for whatever sick, bizarre reason, and this is rape, so trigger warning, he got a penis attachment to put on top of his penis and he ripped me open while I was sleeping, like completely. And it wasn't until, that fucking happened that I was like, holy shit, I'm being abused. Holy shit, I'm being raped. I'm being abused. And I couldn't do anything about it at the time. And the next, morning, because I was at his apartment, I was just gathering all my things. He's like, what? What are you doing? I'm like, I need my ring. He's like, what ring? And he had taken off the ring and hidden it. And that was like one of the most panic attacks, like worst panic attacks I'd ever experienced in my life. Was that ring was very precious to me. That was a ring that my dad gave to me. And my dad, the gift giving king that he was, which he's passed away now, that was the one thing that I treasured the most. And so he got me to this place of where I wanted to hurt him. Like, bitch, you fucking raped me while I was sleeping. And now you're stealing my ring. He wouldn't let me leave. He was saying, "Oh no, you're having your reaction is too big. You're acting crazy. I can't let you leave. I have to protect you. You're acting crazy. You're acting crazy." And I had to sneak out in the middle of the night. And I was in a whole nother state because I was visiting him in Arkansas. And I snuck out and he like hid my keys so I didn't have keys. So I was walking around Arkansas, didn't know where I was, honestly. And I put pillows in the bed to make it look like I was still there. Packed up all my things, and I hid them behind a dumpster. And once he found me, I noticed the keys were in his car, my keys. And so as soon as we got out of the car, grabbed my keys, and I got in my car as fast as I could and I left. And then I circled back once I was like, okay, he's not out looking for me, grabbed my stuff, packed, and went back to Texas. That was crazy. That was a crazy amount of abuse that I endured. And he wouldn't stop calling me from like random numbers of being like, I'm just making sure you're okay. You left in such a crazy hurry. I thought like you might have gotten kidnapped or like whatever. And he started calling my friends and he was like, I'm so sorry for hurting you. I promise I'll change. I'll like show up on your doorstep one day and bring you flowers. And I had to get a fucking restraining order against this man. And prove to the police that this man would not leave me alone, had hurt me, had to do a rape kit. And that was traumatic within itself. Like going in and going to the police officers and feeling so embarrassed. Like, I don't understand why even right now felt so embarrassed by that, because I guess I should have known better, but that's not even really a fucking thing. Like, I was legitimately trapped. And I think a lot of us blame ourselves because of what we see in movies, in the media, of how abuse is depicted, how there are already warning signs and you're yelling at the screen, "Oh my gosh, look, he's controlling, he's abusive," or "She's controlling, she's abusive, they're controlling, they're abusive." And we don't actually see the person who is being abused as someone who deserves care. Like, we're like, "Oh, that dumb bitch. Oh yeah, she deserved it." You know how many comments like I see like at the bottom of YouTube videos on like, you know, like cold cases about girls that have gone missing? It makes me so angry. So angry because my situation could have gone left like in a moment. I was in a totally different state. I, I'm glad that I made that little safety plan because I had a thought that he probably had my car keys in his car because I searched his apartment, right? And I'm glad that I had Gigi with me as well because I also have my cat Clark. But if I didn't have Gigi and if Gigi didn't keep growling at him, I do think he would have like, you know, grabbed me and tried to bring me back inside the apartment. But I had Gigi. So that was like a blessing.
Animals can be your savior for sure. Well, very sorry that happened. Um, I
Huh.
can actually relate to that story because I was also in another state where something traumatic happened with him. I was in Tennessee, and I live in Florida, so I was a little ways from home. I took a leap of faith and went on a road trip with him. We went all the way from like here to Wyoming and back. And during that time in Tennessee, we were in Nashville, and he wanted to go to a haunted house later that night because it was October, Halloween season. And so he's like, "All right, let's get drunk." And so we start bar hopping, and he's just like, ordering me these liquor drinks, which I think I'm the one that was like being forced to pay for them too. And yeah, I was. And after like the third or fourth stop at the bar, I was just like pretty drunk and I was like having trouble like standing up straight. And the bartender was like, "I can't serve this girl. Like, she's drunk." Like, and he was getting mad at me. He's like, "Stop acting like this." And I'm just like, "What are you talking about? Like, I just drank like 6 or 7 drinks in a span of like 45 minutes. Like, I can't help it." And so once that's over, we get in an Uber, and on our way to the haunted house, I puke because I'm, I don't know, 7 drinks in, barely ate that day, and motion sickness from the car. So I puke, and he also got mad at me for that. So um, during the haunted house, he ended up drinking more, and he was even cut off at a certain point because he was like slurring his words. And all of a sudden, he just completely turned crazy. He like started telling me I ruined the fucking night because I puked in an Uber, and so he like grabs my phone, runs off into a graveyard, which is like not too far from where we were. And I run after him, of course, because he has my phone, which I need, and I believe he had my keys too to my car. And he like was threatening to like break my phone, which was terrifying. And it was even more also terrifying because I was also in like a completely different state. Never been to Tennessee. I'm in a freaking graveyard in the middle of the night, and he's just acting crazy, yelling at me, telling me that like I suck and I'm ruined everything. And then next thing I know, he, you know, throws me down to the ground, chokes me, knees me, and even bites my face, headbutts me, and not sure how, like, I was able to get my phone back, but I was. And we called an Uber to get back to the hotel, and um, the whole time on my way back there, like, he was just typing on his phone and, like, showing me what he was saying, like, I'm the fucking worst person in the world. I wish I never met you. Like, I hate you. And then he like called the front desk of the hotel and told him like, don't let this person in, like, which is me, like, because I guess his name was under the hotel, and he was saying like, don't let this person in this hotel, like. And so I was like stuck out of the hotel for like at least 30 minutes, and then he eventually lets me back in, and we sleep because he just was so drunk, he just passed out. And then like the next day he told me like, you're gonna do something for me. Like, what? He's like, you're gonna have sex with me. And I felt powerless because he was like pretty much like threatening to kick me out of the hotel if I didn't do it. So I did, and he recorded me, and once that was over, we made our way back home.
The recording thing, yeah, that brought back the dude that, did that to me. It's all recorded. And that was not my consent. And I think 6 months after the relationship ended, he sent me a video of that video. And he said something along the lines of, I love still watching us fuck, even though we don't anymore. And I'm like,
Ew.
what? So that made me think, does he have more recordings? Like, bitch, what the fuck? Because,
Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if this guy still had the recordings of me or like still the photos of me. Like, it's just hard knowing that like it's probably still out there, but at the same time, like, what can you do?
yeah, revenge porn is abuse, and it's so sick. It's so sick and twisted. It's like genuinely makes me so angry. It makes me so angry that these people have the gall to treat others with so much disrespect and treat us like an object. It's just so fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This is going to be a hard question, but I have to ask it. Do you forgive him for what he did?
No, I don't.
Solid.
I'll never forgive him. There is absolutely no reason for any of that.
Mhm. I do forgive my abuser. Um, I don't condone his actions, but I do forgive him, and like I fucking release myself of any, you know, anything that has to do with it. Like I was 21 at the time, and there's no reason for me to, hold on to it except to, talk openly about my experiences. But I don't hate him. I really hate his actions. I really hate the way that I felt when I was with him, how I felt like I wasn't good enough. how I felt like that I didn't satisfy him, which is so bullshit. How I felt like I wasn't skinny enough. That was like a really big thing because I'm a bigger person and I'm fine with that. My God. Like, but he would always be like, "Oh, you need to go to the gym more. Oh, you're eating too much." He would make weird comments about my hair, about how I should straighten it from time to time. He was just very controlling about how I looked. And then he was very controlling about how his friends perceived me, which was crazy too.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me like one time, he's like, "Oh, Christopher thinks you're like a 7." I'm like, who the fuck is Christopher, first off? Secondly, what does a 7 mean? Like fuckability, you're taking advice from your friends, like on if they want to fuck your girlfriend? Huh? Pardon?
Yeah, that's a red flag for sure.
Pardon? Like, it made me just so, it made me feel really bad. But now, like, reflecting on it, I'm like, the fuck? That's so sick and twisted. That's so sick and twisted. So you feel safe now in your relationship, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. And I do just want to add that I think it's great that you chose to forgive him and, not hold on to it as a grudge because that's probably the healthy choice. Like, I just, I forgive myself for that happening because, I mean, I was naive at the time and, just felt like the right thing to do at the time to just, deal with it, even though there's absolutely no reason anyone should deal with that. But I choose not to forgive him because the circumstances and what he put me through was just it's just so unnecessary and so damaging to where I just don't see a reason why I should forgive him or need to forgive him. Like it doesn't affect me if I don't.
Hmm.
So I just think that he was just possibly maybe brain damaged or had some terrible mental illness because I remember he did mention once she had a bad concussion when he was younger, and I'm just wonder if that's why you were so fucking crazy because you were just so fucked up in the head to where there's only two explanations, you have brain damage or you just have a very severe mental illness because of the way you were brought up. Because I know his parents didn't show him really any love and affection like a typical parent would, and I know that can impact growth and how you are as a person.
It really can. Um, abuse begets abuse. Um,
Yeah.
and people justify abuse all the time because they were abused, or they justify abusive behaviors because they were abused. Like this saying, "Oh, boys will be boys. If he pulls your hair as a little kid, he likes you. That just means he likes you." No, no. Like these children are taught these behaviors because of how their parents react to one another or interact with one another. When I was in fucking, it's called Mother's Day Out. I was 5, right? This is one of my first core memories. Okay. Um, I was on the playground, and instead of sand or wood chips or, that squishy, like plasticky material on the playground, no, we had gravel. We had fucking gravel. So if you fell, that gravel was imprinted in your knees, scraped your knees, ouch, it sucked. Okay.
Wow, that's a very well thought out material for a kid's playground.
I know, right? And so I remember being 5 years old. And I remember drawing in the gravel, like making little smiley faces or a little heart or little stuff like that. And this boy who had blonde hair straight up chucked a shit ton of gravel at me, like really hard, just kept throwing it at me, pummeling me with gravel. Like I remember running under the slide to get away from him. He would not leave me alone. And the attendants were laughing about it. This is something I really remember because I was terrified, like beyond terrified. I was screaming, crying, get away from me, get away from me. And as it was happening, he was just chasing me, chasing me, chasing me. And it got to the point where the attendants were like, okay, this has gone on long enough, which it felt like forever. I don't know how long it was. But they stopped him and said, hey, you can't do that to girls that you like. And he's like, well, I do this with my brothers. This is how we play. We throw things at each other. And that was so fucked. But my dad was the one who picked me up from, Mother's Day out, which was like a daycare. And I told him what happened. And my dad, big, fat, strong man, like giant hands, grabbed the little boy by the arm and lifted him up like this child went high up in the air. Said, if you ever throw anything at my daughter again, your arm is coming off. And then set the kid back down. And I'm not condoning that, but I never had rocks thrown at me again, which was great.
Hey, daddy looking out for you.
And something that my dad did stick around after to wait till that kid's parents got there and said, hey, this is what happened at school. And his mom was like, oh, boys will be boys. And my dad was like, no, they won't. That's
Yeah,
condoning bad behavior. And I told your kid I would rip his arm off. And she laughed, which was interesting response. Because if someone told me I would rip that, what, I would not laugh. Like, what the fuck?
right,
That's a
yeah.
crazy thing to say of my dad, but he did. And he was like, you know, Grace could have lost her eye. Like, imagine little rock went into little Grace's eye, or she could have fallen and hurt herself. Or, like, even God forbid, this boy throws rocks and Grace hides behind a slide, and they were metal slides too, which is also very archaic and crazy. The pebbles bounce off and hurt your kid. Like, there were so many possibilities of this ending very poorly. You need to teach your child not to throw things, and especially not to throw hard things. And the
Right.
lady was like, well, I don't see what the problem is. And sure enough, the next week, that kid was throwing things not at me, someone else. And he slipped on the gravel because they were running around the playground, and he hit his chin on like the metal like steps, and he like bit through his lip, his bottom lip with his top teeth.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of blood?
Karma's a bitch. I don't remember, but I do remember that happened. And I do remember he never came back after that.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, whatever you put in this world, like, you get out. So,
Yeah. What measures did you take to maintain your sense of safety before getting into your current relationship when you started dating again?
well, one thing's for sure, I definitely like on a first date, I don't go to a person's house. Like, you know, I mean, ironically though, I did like, the person I'm dating now, I did go to his house on the first date, but I dropped my sister at his location before I left. But I didn't get a bad vibe from him though. But if I've never met someone though, like it wasn't like, like he invited me over like on the first date, like we met somewhere first and then he invited me over. But no, but like if someone like were to invite me like on a date, like, hey, you wanna like come to my place? I'm just like, no, we can meet in a public place because that's just, sketchy. Um, yeah, I don't give myself up on the first date either. Like I don't have sex on the first date because I did that with that guy and like, about just I've just been talking about how that like, went. So that's like, another thing I don't do. I also just try to look out for just like any sign of disrespect or like, crossing any boundaries or just like any like, behavior that I noticed from the previous relationship.
Mm. Speaking on behaviors in some relationships, like that can, that we should like be aware of. Some behaviors are if someone is constantly putting you down or your decisions, um, someone that is frequently yelling at you or getting angry at you for expressing your emotions
Hmm.
or telling you that you are gaslighting or manipulating them like constantly. Someone that you feel like you have to be walking on eggshells around.
Yes,
That's a
definitely know that one.
mhm. If you ever feel that you're not good enough or capable to make your own decisions, that you always need their input on
Right, like you
something.
have to ask permission. Like I remember he would get so mad if I like were to post a selfie. He'd be like, "Why are you doing that? Like, who you trying to impress?"
Mm.
Hmm. Or like, I remember even too, like if I had guy friends, he'd be like, "Who's this guy?" And I'm just like, "He's just a friend." Well, why'd you like his profile picture? I'm like, "Why not?"
Being abused can cause a person to think that they did something to deserve the abuse, believe that they are unwanted or unworthy of love or respect, feeling like they can't do better than the abusive relationship they're currently in, feeling guilty or ashamed, feeling helpless, powerless, feeling used, controlled, or manipulated, be terrified of doing something that may upset their abuser, behave
Yes.
differently in order to avoid upsetting their abuser, have difficulty sleeping, concentrating, or participating in activities that they once enjoyed, develop mental conditions such as depression or anxiety, develop physical health conditions such as heart disease, digestive issues, muscle and bone conditions, fertility problems, and nervous system disorders. Abuse, high cortisol levels, and high adrenaline levels your body, wreck your body's way of processing like food, processing your emotions, your cognition levels get much, much lower the longer you are in an abusive relationship. It almost brings you to this state, this animalistic state of, I need to survive. There's no thriving in an abusive relationship at all.
No.
There really isn't. And if you, listener, are relating to what we are describing, I want you to know that there is hope. Okay. We both got out of abusive relationships. Yeah, it was really tricky. It was difficult. There were some after effects, but it is possible. A statistic said that the like most dangerous time for a person in an abusive relationship is when they're leaving. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's so important to have a plan in place when you have decided to leave and to make sure that other people are around to take care of you. Okay. Meaning other people can be safety for you, especially if it's physical abuse. So, how do we develop a safety plan? I'm going to have more resources in the description, but a quick overview is you have to make a plan before leaving. This may involve setting aside emergency funds, important documents like your passport, your social security card, your identifications, and contacting a support organization for help. Seek support, okay? I know it's really embarrassing for whatever fucking reason it shouldn't be, but it is because people stigmatize abused people. Please reach out to people, reach out to friends,
Yes.
family.
That's probably the best thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Reach out to support services such as domestic violence shelters or the hotline, which we said at the top of the show. Many organizations can offer legal help, counseling, and safety resources for free. Use legal protections. Protective orders, restraining orders, they can help create a barrier between you and the abuser, though they may not guarantee safety, but they can like help. Okay, go to the police, please. A hand sign that you can do if you're in a restaurant, okay, is flattening out, putting your thumb and doing this. Do that not like up high, out to the side where the other person can't see. Try to get a waiter's attention, wave at them, and do this, okay? Which for the audio listeners, that is a flat palm, the thumb pressed against your palm, and your four fingers going around your thumb. Okay, that is a sign that you are trapped and you are in an abusive situation. Okay, also, if you're ever at a bar, you can ask for an angel shot. An angel shot is a code word that you are in a situation where you are trapped and you need help. Okay, that is another code word. Leaving an abusive relationship is courageous, but it can be very complicated, and seeking support, planning carefully can help mitigate any risk. Most risk involved can be avoided. I'm so serious on this if we create a well thought out plan. Okay. And for those of us that are watching, listening this episode, and you've never experienced a domestic abusive relationship, but you want to know how you can support someone that is going through one, listen to them and believe them. If they say that they're in an abusive relationship, please don't fucking question it. Don't
Yeah,
ask them, how do you know? Bitch, don't ask them how they know. They know. They're in it. You will
right,
never know how another person is being treated in their relationship. You're never going to know. You may have some insight, but you never know what happens behind closed doors. Okay. So
right,
honor where they are in their process and please don't push your personal views. All right. So if they're like, I'm thinking of leaving, don't be like, okay, leave them, leave them. Let's leave them right now. Let them process it. Okay. Don't rush anybody unless it's like a situation where it's life threatening, like the abuser is going to murder them. Then, yeah, I'm all for hijacking your friends and not letting them leave your house. But please honor their process, offer assistance, and let them know that they're not alone. Okay. Another really good thing that's super helpful if you're wanting to get the police involved is writing down all the details so that they can remember these things of why they need to leave. Okay. Getting pen to paper. What are the ways that they've been abused? What are the times that they have been abused? Make documentation of if there are bruises, bite marks, any cuts, scarring. Make documentation of it. Take a picture. Okay. That can be really helpful. Remind them that they are not to blame for anything that has happened to them. This is not their fault. Okay. Encourage them to seek professional support either through a confidential hotline or speak up about the abuse and report the abuse to the authorities, because keeping it a secret really only protects the abuser.
right,
Keeping it a secret, like saying, oh, I don't want to, you know, go through that process, you're only protecting the abuser. I know this may feel like a call out, but you're only protecting the abuser, and some other people may be afraid to report the abuse and they could still continue to abuse people.
right,
And please respect whatever choice your friend, family member in an abusive relationship makes, okay? And let them know that you'll be there regardless of what they decide. Please don't leave them if they decide to stay for a little bit longer or even stay for longer or not know what to do. Do not abandon them. I know it can be really challenging when we see people that we love being hurt, But the last thing that they need is being left behind. Okay. If you can't, be there for them emotionally, that's one thing. But please don't block them. Please don't tell them that they're an idiot for staying. Please don't harass them to leave. Be there. Okay. Domestic abuse can take on many different shapes and forms. It can be very traumatic to experience, leaving behind not only physical wounds, emotional scars, and health issues, and it can affect every aspect of a person's life and make it very difficult for them to function. Recovery takes time, but speaking up about the abuse, leaving the abusive situation, and seeking treatment are important steps that anyone can take. Okay? Do you have any resources, Maddie, that you'd like to share with us?
Um, I do not, but I do know that therapy can definitely help if you are a survivor of an abusive relationship. I also know that there are probably like emotional support groups you could join to make you feel less alone, and also, be surrounded by people in case you'd rather not just have like a one-on-one therapy session. Um, that's all I can really suggest, because I just think like, taking care of yourself like after, the incident, the best thing you can do is to seek out professional help.
It's very true. It's very important to seek out help for whatever you're going through. Okay. I know that there's a lot of fear around leaving an abusive relationship. There's a lot of shame and stigma, especially when it comes to leaving a marriage that is abusive.
Yeah.
Okay. I want all of you guys to know that you are capable of a fulfilling life outside of the abusive relationship. Okay. You are. You have so much potential. Please don't let another person's horrible actions snuff out your light or the amazing things that you are capable of bringing to the world. And please don't let their abuse turn you into an abusive person as well. That is something that I have seen, especially with mothers that have been through abusive relationships and have left. They then take out a lot of their anger on their children, and there's no excuse for it. I've seen it.
No.
I've seen it firsthand. And it's very sad, but there's no excuse. Okay? We are all capable of immense healing, immense recovery, and making a full recovery 180 and doing something important with our lives. For me, creative outlets are what really helped sustain me in, you know, rebuilding my sense of self and my autonomy. I do have Maddie's art Instagram linked so you can check it out. Maddie, will you tell us about how your art has helped you heal?
Yeah, art is definitely an outlet for me because I really enjoy it. And you know how when you're doing something you really enjoy, time just seems like an illusion. You're just so enamored with it and so distracted by it. You just like don't think about anything else that's going on. So yeah, that's my outlet. It's also like a great way to express yourself too. Like I have drawn like pictures before, like, expressing like, like if I were to like draw my emotion, like I once drew it on paper, and I haven't posted that picture yet, but I will post it very soon. Um, yeah, it's just a great like, emotional release. And like, of course everyone's different. Everyone has their own like, outlet for what helps them take their, I don't want to say take your mind off it, because you don't want to like suppress your feelings, but like we all have like something that will help like, keep you distracted in a good way. because in the end, like, these thoughts, like, what happened to you isn't gonna go away. So the best thing you can do is just develop healthy coping mechanisms, whatever that may be, whether it's meditate or talk to someone, express your creativity through art, or if you like crocheting, or if you like painting, whatever it may be. But definitely like take care of yourself and don't forget you're worthy and you deserve to live a happy, fulfilling life. And there are many ways to do so.
There are so many ways to do so. And I'm very proud of you, Maddie, for sharing your story. I'm so
I'm
proud.
proud of you too. And also, I'm wearing your earrings made by Gracelets, which are very pretty. Thank you.
Yeah, she has some amethyst and some mother of pearl. It's
Yeah,
such a
my
vibe.
the quality of my computer really sucks, so you can't really see it too well. But here, let me get closer. Beep. Oh,
You
there
gotta
we go.
talk. There you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, hi, Lucy. Lucy just came up to me and just like looked at me with her big, big eyes. Like, what are
No.
you doing? A little cat. Well, please, everybody, go follow Maddie over on Instagram and support her for being on the show. Please take care of yourselves because you deserve it. There are resources in the description. The Suicide Crisis Lifeline number is 988, or you can call or text 741-741 if you're dealing with any thoughts of self-harm. You are worth getting better. You are worth being in a loving, compassionate relationship where you feel fulfilled and you feel enabled to do the things that you want to do, that as long as they don't hurt anybody and feel safe. Safety is something that I will never take for granted ever again. Feeling safe in my
Absolutely.
relationship. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And to all of my psych nerds out there, we all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety is like at, I believe it's like, I know it's like, a big part of it. I want to say it's at the bottom, but still, it's like a very, very big part. Safety and security is like a very big part of, survival. So
Mhm.
definitely, like, don't take that for granted. I sure won't ever again either. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mhm. Being in a healthy relationship and recognizing that I do deserve to be treated with respect and compassion, understanding, empathy, and love is something I will also never take for granted. I love my Joey. I love my dude. Um,
Yeah. I love you, Eric. Thank you for showing me what it means to be in a loving relationship and being so caring for me, even though I, have my moments of, being a woman.
oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
We're good eggs. We're good eggs.
we
We are.
are. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today, Grace. This was a good time.
Oh, yay. All right. Say goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
If you're watching us over on YouTube, here are our memes of the week, carefully curated by those amazing people over on our Discord server. Now let's get into those memes. At the end of every episode, we spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. Let's spin this wheel, shall we? And we also got the Mochi. Come here, Mochi. Come here, Mochi. Up. You step up. She's like, I don't know what that means. I'm going to pick up the Motrin. The Motrin is big now. See? Oh, she's all jingle jangling all around. Let's spin the wheel. Joyful. Joyful. Liberated. Ecstatic. Leaving an abusive relationship leaves more room for joy. Taking all of the horrible feelings away eventually, it takes time, and creating more space for the positive, feeling joyful, feeling liberated, feeling free to express yourself, free to not be violated, not be controlled, not be manipulated, free to choose your own path. Leaving an abusive relationship can be very hard, but it is very rewarding. It is very liberating. And it opens so many more doors to so many new and amazing possibilities. I want to commend those of us that have already left an abusive relationship and reassure those of us that are gaining that confidence to be able to leave. It can happen. It will happen. Just please put a safety plan in place before you do leave. And make sure that you have people on the outside of the relationship that are willing and able to support you, whether it be physically be there or emotionally be there. Okay? Remember, you can do it. And I'm right here with you. If you need support, please reach out to us via our Discord server. It's anonymous, it's free, it's peer support. Okay? If you want to support the podcast, we have a Patreon. Different tiers can get you a bracelet like these, which are handmade crystal beaded bracelets made by me, Grace, or you can get a sticker like the one on the back of my computer. The link is in the description. Any support helps us out a lot, so if you feel compelled to, please like, comment, subscribe, and share the show with your friends. Remember, all right, this is what we say at the end of every episode. You are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I will see you guys in the next episode. Stay safe. Goodbye.